So, Jeff, I'm wondering, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to someone because you interviewed them?
I don't know, Mark. Many people I've interviewed have since died, but none has suffered the immediate fate that Mizar Bahari, the Iranian journalist who was interviewed by Jason Jones on The Daily Show, did in 2009. After Jones interviewed Bahari, Bahari, Jason Jones escaped the country freely. Bahari was arrested and tortured, which forms the basis of Rosewater, the Jon Stewart directed movie that we're going to talk about this week. Mark, what's the plot of that movie?
Well, you've pretty much outlined it. It is the story of Mizar Bahari, and he's played by Gael Garcia Bernal, who is a surprisingly short actor, we noticed in this film. He is an Iranian-born, British-based journalist who goes back to his home country on the eve of the 2009 elections there, and for various reasons, including some of the facetious things he says when he's interviewed for The Daily Show, the authorities swoop in, arrest him, and hold him for hundreds of days, 4 months or so, torturing him, trying to get him to admit that he's a spy for the West, and basically being really mean to him. Shocker, he does survive.
Yeah, yeah. Spoiler: he does get out of jail.
Which you know if you're paying attention to the world. But Jon Stewart, I think, felt guilty maybe about this and decided to make his feature writing and directing debut based on his story.
Right, and I think we both had pretty much the same take on the movie. And one interesting thing to think about is how would we feel about this movie if we didn't know it was Jon Stewart's directorial debut and didn't know that this is the movie that he did when he took a leave of absence from The Daily Show. Because, of course, the producers in the studio was well aware that Jon Stewart is out front selling the movie. He did the entire Daily Show last night was devoted to the movie, interviews with Bahari, Bernal, Jason Jones, etc. But without the Jon Stewart interest and imprimatur on it, really it's an above average, but certainly a nothing special movie.
Yeah, I think there's a certain on the one hand you feel good for Jon Stewart because he's shown that he can direct. It's a serious movie. It's not a satirical thing like we're used to seeing him do, and he does a very capable job. There's some nice visual touches. It feels more polished than an average first-time filmmaker. At the same time, I felt like I wanted it to sort of choose its tone a little more forcefully. There are parts that have touches of humor to them, and there are other parts that are very earnest, but they sort of coexist in this movie that ends up being somewhere in between.
Agree with you, and I thought that the scenes after Bahari is jailed and tortured, it's really a one-on-one movie with him and his torturer, and that's where the movie could have really taken off, and it didn't. It sort of felt flat. Bernal, excellent performance, but there's some sort of fantasy scenes where he's talking with his father and his sister in his cell. There's a lovely scene where he does a dance with
Yes, I like that a lot too.
with Leonard Cohen, or to a Leonard Cohen song, not with Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen in an Iranian prison didn't happen, but overall, it was a B to B minus movie. I gave it a B. I think you were in the B minus camp, and it's no Dumb and Dumber 2, but it's not.
Thank goodness.
Yes, but it's not. I don't know. It's not Gone Girl
Well,
either.
he's a promising young filmmaker with his first feature in the can. I can't wait to see what he does next.
Right. Maybe it'll even be a comedy.
Yes.
What else is on the movie front? Lucky for us, Dumb and Dumber 2 didn't preview in time for us to
Yes.
write about it for the paper. You saw a Swedish movie that you really liked.
Yeah, it's called Force Majeure, and it's a Swedish film about this family that goes on a ski vacation in the French Alps. And early on in the movie, there's an avalanche. There's a moment of danger or disaster, and the husband reacts in a very uncomplimentary way. He basically flees in panic, leaving his family to face the danger. Everyone turns out okay, but then the movie charts how that drives a rift in the family and how they try to deal with it. It's really fascinating psychologically. It's well acted. It's got a lot of touches of dark humor to it, and I can't recommend it enough.
And it's called Clouded with a Chance of Meatballs?
So, no, it's called Force Majeure, which I believe
okay.
I'm pronouncing correctly.
Okay.
I hope.
The movie calendar for the next couple weeks, there's some movie with Jennifer Lawrence in it next week. As far as I'm concerned, if Jennifer Lawrence is in it, it doesn't really matter. But and there's also an indie movie produced by Tin House, the local book publisher here, and then we're well into the holiday season.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to add about Rosewater?
No, I think it's worth seeing. I think that people should check it out and form their own opinion.
Which we hope they do. We certainly do. Thanks, and see you next time.